All right, so kind of what Jeffrey had said, what we're going to be talking about today is using digital spaces to connect with your local communities. And really today is thinking about, what are you currently utilizing? Maybe wanting to start something new, maybe you have a certain campaign coming up, and you really want to invest more within your digital spaces. And again, using those digital spaces, not necessarily just to flood information out there, but also to be a little bit more concise in it so that you're hitting your target audience, that you're growing the audience, but also you're really building that social capital, especially when it comes to, again, your local communities that are going to support you in your creative careers, whichever that may be. So again, my name is Sikkila. I'm a consultant for Springboard, but again, I do a lot of different things throughout the state, but as well throughout the Midwest. So we'll kind of hop into it this afternoon. I'm used to saying evening, this afternoon. Let's see here. There we go. That's way better. Okay. So kind of thinking about the why, like why invest in digital spaces when it comes to, marketing my work and my practice and my career. And especially nowadays, a lot of people are stepping away a little bit from social media and things like that. So it's thinking about really, again, what is the objective and your goals? So I'll read through this here. Obviously, the big why question. It's important for your project to engage with your community, and these digital spaces keep the conversation going. It helps to build and maintain relationships as well as your brand reputation. Digital spaces provide multiple platforms to help provide relevant information about your project, to sell your products. It's about creating fresh content and telling your customers or consumers about your brand. Let it be interesting and worth their time to hang out with you online and build brand loyalty. So the great thing about digital spaces is that you really get to curate the content or curate how you want people to view you as the brand, as the artist, as well as the work that you make. And really within marketing online is really providing a variety of things that people can engage with. They're able to engage with your process of making and creating, the process of you presenting your work, the process of you coming into being the artist, no matter if you've been doing this for 20 years or 2 days. So that's like the great thing is being able, again, to provide that wide variety of letting people really invest in you to where they have that kind of what we say, that brand loyalty here. Just admit someone here. Perfect. Because that's what you really want to build, because, if you have that strong sense of community in your digital spaces, hopefully then you'll have that strong loyalty in physical, actual space. Again, especially when it comes to your local community, the people that are, living in a similar space, whatever you would define that as. Sorry about that. So some other things when thinking about the why. So again, building that brand awareness, attract potential customers to your sites and to establish trust. The great thing about social media is really allowing people, or I guess a lot of times how we phrase it is like humanizing the artists. Okay. No matter which discipline that you're working in. Because a lot of times when it comes to people outside of the creative field, they look at people through digital spaces, musicians, visual artists, writers, and there's a little bit of that barrier, right? So, but you want to knock down that barrier and again, provide yourself as a human online to where, again, you're building that, the trust, establish trust to where people feel that they can interact with you in digital spaces as well as real spaces. And also connecting with people through different concepts outside of just your creative practice as well. Increasing sales drives traffic to your sites and increase sales and services as well. So thinking about if you do have a website or you have more of like a main platform that you want people to be driven to, a lot of times people are not seeking out websites as much anymore. They are using social media to really gain information about artists. So So again, it's a good way to kind of get people to a bigger platform to engage in maybe more of a deeper level, or again, buy tickets, know where you're at, things like that. Compete with other businesses. Differentiate, I can never say that word correctly, your project from others by highlighting your uniqueness and how your product or service or experience is different too. This is kind of one of the main things that I feel like we don't sit down enough within our creative practice and really kind of find what are those keywords about my product, which is your music, your experience, your performance. What are those keywords that set you apart from your peers? Okay. And then it's thinking about plucking out those keywords and utilizing those within your hashtags, your content, things like that. So to where if people are interested in like booking or engaging with you, to where they have those more unique wordage, to where they're going to retain your information more in their head versus others. So again, take time to see what your peers are doing as well. Again, kind of in your like local space. Engage with your customers or consumers. Build relationships, gather feedback to understand your customers' needs and preferences. So again, that's that building social capital. Engage with your audience online. Sometimes this is hard for people, especially if you're not really like on digital spaces as much or social media. But again, interacting with people, sharing things, tagging things, liking things, people gain that sense of online community only really truly when there's that interaction between profiles and people, however you want to phrase them. Track and measure results, measure the effectiveness of your campaigns, identify what's working and what's not. This allows you to make informed decisions to your digital strategy. So again, if you're really into the idea of like analytics and kind of tracking those things, especially if you're to the point of, investing money and funds into your marketing and digital spaces, like your websites, other streaming services, to where you're able to kind of track it. Do we have people coming to the site? Yes or no? Is it worth the money that I'm investing and the time that I'm investing? Yes or no? And this is something too, if you're investing financially into these platforms, is I would say even every like 2-3 months that you are going back, you're seeing the traction you're getting or the sales. And if you're not making a certain kind of profit, kind of diving into how do we make those adjustments so we're not in the negative, that we're always coming in the positive when it comes to the money of utilizing digital spaces. So we're going to just obviously go through some examples here, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of, but maybe you're using some of these currently, maybe you're not, but kind of just some food for thought here this afternoon. So talk about email and SMS, so text message marketing. If you're going to invest in just one type of digital communication method with your customers, it should be emails. Some people agree with this, some people do not. I think it also kind of slightly depends on who your audience is. If your demographic is a younger audience who maybe aren't on email as much as maybe a little bit older, it might be a little bit different, but email marketing is the oldest and still one of the most effective methods of marketing. It is the most recommended form of consumer retention. I know a lot of artists are kind of stepping away from, the Facebook, the Instagram, from burnout, society, all that, and they're just going strictly to newsletter. It's great with the newsletter. You're going directly to your audience. You have a variety of different things. You can add links, you can add images, things like that. So that's why it's great to kind of just have it in that one hub. And it's a little bit more personalized versus, just shooting out an Instagram post as well. And there can be perks for people being on your newsletters as well. Text message marketing is relatively a new method of marketing and has many advantages as most individuals now communicate through text message, which we know is extremely true. It can get costly and is only recommended once you establish a strong email marketing presence. I don't work with a lot of artists that do text messaging, just, boundaries and things like that. But with all of this, it's really figuring out what works best for you when it comes to your digital spaces. But again, really looking at who's the demographics of your audience and where are they really interacting within digital spaces. There we go. Okay, here we go. Making sure. So obviously with the email and text message, cost effective, doesn't require a large budget to get started. And many email marketing platforms offer affordable pricing plans based on the size of your email list, to also how many, I guess, like features you want. So, you can even do something free too. Just depends again on what you want to invest in. And then obviously target reach allows to interact specific segments of your consumer base based on factors such as purchase history, location, and interests. This allows you to tailor your messages to the specific needs and preferences of your audience and increasing the likelihood of engagement and sales. Especially if you want to drive people again to your website, it's a great resource. These are a few, and again, there are other ones, but this is just kind of a few email marketing platforms. So this is something that you haven't really explored yet, but you're thinking about it. Here are 3 examples. MailChimp is probably one of the top, I would say. It's pretty easy in my mind to use, especially if you're a beginner. Obviously, these have different pricing rates. MailChimp, simple built-in templates. Like I said, really easy for beginners, kind of easy to explore as well. Campaign Monitor and Calvio, I always forget how to pronounce that. Again, they kind of just go up in like advantages and accessibility with it as well. But again, it just depends on what you want to really invest when it comes to just the money, and is it something that you feel that you're going to be able to keep up on as well? So again, 3 different examples there. Take time to kind of explore those in your own time. How often should you send emails? This also could cross over into social media platforms as well. You're already a consumer, draw upon your experience. What gets on your nerves? Who are you always happy to hear from? So again, I'm sure we're all on other newsletter lists, things like that. Just taking time to kind of do that market research of what do you enjoy when you get a newsletter? What annoys you? So taking time to reflect on that. Once a month is standard for lots of small businesses. You can always increase slowly to twice a month or once a week. It obviously depends on where you're at in your career. Once a month I feel is pretty good. If you feel like, let's say you're in the season, I know for a lot of people working in the music industry, summertime and performances kind of amp up. Maybe in heavier seasons, it could be more consistent and maybe a little bit slower. But I think the main thing is kind of just being consistent as much as possible. Obviously, it's just going right down to that one. Monitor your campaigns. Are certain approaches working better than others? Of course, that should be with everything you're really kind of putting in digital spaces. And once you feel comfortable, use the internal tools like segmenting by engagement levels, personalizing, send times, and trying A/B testing too. And even like it's great with newsletters, because if you're wanting to connect again with your local community, is taking that time to figure out, who's running venues, who's booking people, who are the other artists in different disciplines around me, and finding their emails online and reaching out to them and getting those names on your list too. All right, let me admit something. Perfect. So the good old social media marketing. This is probably one that I feel a lot of people are really, for the most part, utilizing. Social media allows brands to reach and interact with their consumers on more casual setting. If you feel that's the voice that you want to portray digitally, there are many ways to use social media, but most common methods are organic and paid. Organic, obviously, is when you post on a social media channel without a paid promotion through engaging content and hashtags, if you use hashtags. So again, if you are really strong at kind of getting on there and posting every day, every other day, you have a strong idea of your content, but a lot of people that's just too much, too much for them. So that it's taking time and financial investment to do your paid media. So paid media is different in that you're paying and advertising your products and brand to target your audience. So using a site or a business page on Facebook where you can kind of schedule where promotion kind of goes out. So it makes it a little bit more maybe approachable for you, a little bit more manageable. So you're not getting behind on things, missing things, or just burning out in general. So again, the benefits of social media marketing. So social proof your brand and deliver credibility, right? So again, authenticity out there with your work. And I think with artists, if you can find your balance of being vulnerable in digital spaces, that's what allows people to connect and to also build social capital, which hopefully floods to our other digital spaces and in person. If people can connect with you in an emotional way online, that's where that brand connection starts to happen, right? That humanizing. Okay. So thinking about ways of, again, allowing yourself to be vulnerable on social media and sharing your work or your process. Obviously, free platforms to promote your brand. So again, if money is a thing, social commerce where you can sell your products. So depending if it's like some people, their work sells way better on social media versus putting together an e-commerce site. So it also depends on what you're selling here, actual objects or, tickets, things like that. So figuring out what works best for you, provide another channel to deliver customer service. So again, if communication is crazy key, again, allowing yourself to talk and allow yourself to be approachable to communicate online is huge as well. So again, and that also starts, if you feel that's something that's been hard for you, taking the time to kind of reach out to those again in your local community and just engage with what they're doing. Connect with customers in real time, reach a wide range of audience. And so this is great. We have a lot of people using social media, and people get really consumed with this musician or this artist out in California or this person over in New York City, they're following me and all this and blah, blah, and I have all these followers. And that's great, but it's really thinking about who are the people that are actually going to invest in you, in your creative practice. Is usually a lot of times it's a piece of people, again, that are, again, in your local creative space. So it's not about all these far out people or people with a lot of followers themselves, but finding who the people are locally, your peers, as well as people that are going to benefit from experiencing your work. Who are they? Where are they? And implanting yourself there. Access new marketing data and nurture your relationships with your customers. Again, that kind of goes into that emotional connection. All right, so social media marketing, we're just gonna, obviously we don't have a whole lot of time today here. So we're just gonna kind of quickly focus on like the 4 that we would say are, the most used, I would guess. So obviously we have Instagram there on the top left, Facebook, TikTok, and the new version of Twitter. So again, each one of these holds different merits. Each one of these has different types of audiences as well. And I would say right away too, when it comes to connecting within your digital spaces is yes, kind of having an understanding of, again, who your audience is and where are they communicating digitally, but also finding the tools that work best for you. Okay, so if you're wanting to invest more in digital campaigns and things like that, or just digital channels, it's not about utilizing all of them. It's utilizing what you can in a consistent and strong way. Sometimes people, it's like, they're over here and then over here and over here, and it's just it's too consuming for your audience and can be annoying. So just be mindful. And you never want any of like your digital spaces to really be like out to date too. You want things to be present and current. You want people to see what you're making and doing this week, next week. So whatever you can manage. So obviously Facebook, still the most widely used online platform. Nowadays, it is getting to be a little bit of an older audience on Facebook. So Gen Z and millennials prefer other social platforms such as Instagram and things like that. It's a pay-to-play platform. So if you have a business page or an artist page, however you want to define that, you are able to pay for digital sponsoring and things like that, which in my opinion, I feel works fairly well. So if you have an event coming up or anything that really needs an extra hype, is having that little bit of sponsorship investment is a great thing, and Facebook does provide that. News feed algorithms is unfavorable, and it's with Facebook and Instagram, again, they're on the same kind of platform, same company basically. They're always shifting things, and it's really hard to kind of understand the algorithms and stuff like that. So that's always something that people try and tackle, but it's a little tricky. I will say on Facebook, for myself here, I know that my Facebook, I do have an older audience too. Also, if I'm promoting more of like an event or something locally, Facebook has a stronger sense of advertising actual events and locations and things like that versus, Instagram and TikTok. So if I know I want my local community of like, all these ages too, I really blast that more on Facebook for people to come here versus on Instagram. And then also too, when it comes to social media, we'll say quick here, is being mindful of where is the separation? Do you have like your personal social media? Do you have your artist social media? Are they together? Are they separate? But then just kind of defining those a little bit as well. But I always say, even if you have a separate artist page, again, you still want to provide digitally, again, the connection of who you are as the artist. But again, maybe you don't have like your family stuff or your vacation photos, all that. Maybe you want to keep that separate. So that's always something to think about here, that separation of privacy. Instagram, image and video focused visual social platform, which can help grow your fan base. So we are human beings. We love images and things that move, right? So Instagram is really great for that. Shorter captions, more hashtags. Facebook is, allows for more like longer, like written content as well. Versus I would say Instagram, easy to engage with your people. Of course, lots of displays of advertisement, and your content can get drowned out. That is, especially nowadays, the advertisements on Instagram are really insane. So it's hard. So it's thinking about being mindful too of when you're posting things, which is a whole nother conversation of that algorithm. But so that's something just to keep into consideration. Content algorithm consistently changes, like we said, does not allow for clickable links except in your profile. So again, if you have a post on Instagram, versus on Facebook, you can have that link in there in your caption, takes you right to the website or whatnot. Instagram doesn't like people taking them away from Instagram, so they're not going to allow you to have the clickable link in your post. You can have it in your profile. You can have up to 2 links in your profile. And then on your Instagram stories, if you're doing those, you can provide links in there. But if you're putting too many links to go to different pages in your story, Instagram will identify that, and they're going to make your content drown out more, because again, too many times you're getting people away from Instagram. So just be mindful of that, or say, links in bio, just to not hurt people seeing your stuff. Okay. Social media marketing using hashtags. So some people do this a lot. Some people don't do it at all. I usually only hashtag when I know I have like a bigger thing I really want to advertise. This is mainly utilized on Instagram. Instagram says to use 3 to 5 per post. Try and stay away from hashtags with more than 1 million posts. So again, when you put in a hashtag, you can kind of see, this has been shared, 22 million times, right? So those are too broad. So you want to think more specifically. So again, utilizing those keywords of what's unique about your creative practice. And 100K is kind of the sweet spot for what they say is a number to, again, it's a little bit more zoned in. So just kind of like hashtag musical artist, right? That's too broad. So thinking more specifically, and then also thinking too within hashtags of places and also like locally as well. If you're able to hashtag and tag local areas or who you're collaborating with and things like that, they're going to share that content, which is just going to double your marketing. You always want to try and piggyback as much as you can, cross-pollinate the marketing, as we say. TikTok, video only platform used mainly by Gen Z, so a little bit younger of audience here. Again, it is video only. Algorithm favors trends. That is extremely true. So you have to keep up with them, which can be a lot. Quality videos are harder and more costly to produce than quality images. So creating video content, dependent on the level, obviously, it's way more of an investment than photographing your work, time and money. So it's just thinking about just those kind of tools. If your target audience is over 30, this platform is 100% not suitable in any way for your work. Again, that's subjective. I know a lot of people over 30 work in the creative field that use TikTok like no one's business, and it works great for them. But again, it's something to where it's something else to add to your to-do list. But it's also thinking about, again, your work, is it best suited, again, for that kind of platform through video, as well as for that younger audience. And maybe you have a goal to get a younger audience, so then it's thinking about maybe utilizing TikTok in some fashion. The one good thing about TikTok, though, obviously with it being video-based, it's really great to show process, demonstrations, and step-by-step content. For that, it works great. And I feel the more that and you could do this on Facebook and Instagram and all those too, but the more that people have an understanding of what your process is, they're going to have a deeper connection to you and your work. It's like when you have a painter or you have a drawing, you're like, oh, that drawing looks really great. But if they're able to understand the content of the development of the concepts of it, of the actual techniques of it, same as, writing a song or choreographing a dance, people have that, they're instantly going to have that deeper appreciation for it, which means if they have a deeper appreciation for it, they're going to be more susceptible to engage and interact with you, to want to buy a ticket, to want to come see you, to meet you. You're the coolest person in the world because you're doing something maybe they're not familiar with or they can't do themselves, they feel. So I will say that is a good platform to, again, show this idea of process. But again, Instagram and Facebook, you can do that as well, especially more on Instagram versus Facebook with Instagram Reels. These are kind of, again, more like text-based ones that we're just, I would say more like secondary, I would say, when it comes to connecting with people locally within digital spaces. So we've got the Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Mastodon. So again, text-based social platforms that provide an outlet for real-time updates for brands and funny jokes. User growth is slow compared to other social media platforms, which is very true. I feel like, especially with Twitter and things like that, people are kind of coming off of them a little bit more than before. Again, it's not really a platform for selling products per se or experiences. So it's really about more maybe defining your brand or your voice a little bit more if that's something that you're wanting to engage in. Being only on old Twitter, sorry, cannot help you market your brand. It's a supplement. Again, I feel like it's more about getting your voice out there. To succeed on X, this is so fun. To succeed on X, you have to love being on X. It sounds bad just saying that out loud. And arguing with the biggest freaks in the world sometimes. And again, it's that platform for a lot of, again, shared information. But we all know what comes along with that sometimes. So They're just some kind of like, I would say, secondary platforms, but people utilize them every day. Again, depends on who your audience is. Keeping track of time, yeah. Really quickly, some other things that can maybe help you with your digital marketing to help connect with, again, your communities. Hootsuite and Sprout Social are websites that can help you with your social media scheduling. So if you're like, hey, I'm not very good at posting consistently or at certain times because of other things in my life, these are websites that you can utilize that are going to put that content out for you. Depending on what you pay, obviously, is the amount of support that you'll get. Canva, which I'm sure many of us are aware of, is a website that helps you put together marketing content, posters, flyers, banners. It's usually pretty easy, and you can do it for free. And then Adobe Creative Cloud Express, very similar, just a little bit higher version of Canva, and again, allows more options, but a little bit more advanced too, if you're not really, don't have a whole lot of experience with kind of design and that kind of marketing. Just have a couple more slides here. SEO stands for search engine optimization. And sometimes people kind of really invest in this, sometimes they don't. The goal is to get your product pages among the top results on search engines like Google. So if someone's typing in local guitar player, you know, ideally within the first half of the first page, to where you would come up. Think about when you Google something, how often do you go to the second or third or 10th page of results? Probably, most people probably get to about the second page and then that's kind of about it. Or then they end up just going on social media. Good SEO gets you closer to the top. And this is something too, this kind of takes time to develop and figure out what works best for you as well. This is kind of like a little bit of a thing to think about, keyword research. What are people searching for? What kind of words should you use on your site in your descriptions? The longer, the better. So, you know, if we type in local musicians, Google in your area kind of brings up the top like search things, you know? And so it's thinking about what are those top search things, again, people locally, and taking that wordage and putting it on your site. So when that wordage is there, your site's going to be triggered to be pulled up higher, right? Because it's going to have that exact wordage. This is something sometimes I do, but especially when it comes to musicians and things like that are really seeked out, it's something to kind of experiment with. Blogging. Wait, is it 2023? It's more to keep fresh content generating. So again, kind of like on a, you know, keeping things going, keeping updates, longer updates, research what keywords people are searching for, publish little stories that target keywords people are likely to search for it when making a buying decision. So blog posts, you know, I'm a local musician playing St. Paul, you know, to where, again, that same wordage kind of has things come more to the top. Backlinks, which I'm not like crazy familiar with. This builds authority and trustworthiness in unseen eyes of the almighty algorithm. Ooh, scary. Link outward and find ways to get links back to you. Try press mentions, guest posts, and directories too. So again, it's thinking about other links that can be provided in your digital spaces to, again, get people to and from your place or your digital spaces or vice versa. All right. So thinking about creating a strategy here, kind of just flooding through that information quick. Things to be thinking about moving forward here after this afternoon. Create and set specific goals. Are you looking for sales figures, brand awareness? Probably we're all looking for sales. Of course, we all love to make some money. So again, you have to set the objectives when it comes to your digital spaces. And again, really investing in who is your community and where are they? Again, building that social capital is so huge, working in the creative field, but know and figure out what the objective is with the purpose of this connection. Create a marketing calendar to support your goals. When will you post? Where? How often? Again, if that's how your brain works better, please do it. Measure and assess marketing campaigns and recognize what is working. Of course, you want to know who's coming to see you. Define and reuse the campaigns that work. Establish trust between your brand and your customers. Interact, respond to your customers' request. If it's something to where through digital spaces, people are wanting to book you or do things, you can always just direct them to your email. But again, engage, communicate. If you can't communicate, like on your Instagram and things like that, set like a message that instantly responds to someone if they, you know, so that at least there's some sort of sense of engagement, even though it's the robot sending it. And then kind of this is our last slide this afternoon. Make sure that your site is optimized, and this is huge. Make sure your site is optimized for both mobile and desktop. Majority of people are looking at things on their phones nowadays. So just being mindful of that if you're kind of developing a site. Make it easy and as clear as possible for your consumer to navigate through the website. Focus on a few marketing tactics and channels instead of trying to implement all forms. Again, I see that all the time and people burn out, or you have a bunch of unupdated things online, which you do not want. Personalize, humanize yourself, share your story, reward loyal consumers with discounts and freebies. That could be something kind of through your newsletter too that you could offer. Upsell and cross promote through all of your marketing channels, as well as your peers or your collaborators. Ask your customer for testimonials and reviews. Definitely don't feel weird asking people to do that. That's a pretty common thing. And that's great for your sales and people to connect with you. And leverage the testimonials, reviews, and user generation content. So use that for your advantage. A lot of times people feel awkward sharing things like that. They feel weird talking about themselves or having other people talk about themselves in that way. But we're a business here, and we need those people to support us. So again, we can kind of keep growing our audience in these digital spaces and connecting with people on a deeper level as well, because you want them to invest in you. So let them kind of speak on your behalf. So awesome. So that's kind of, again, a very quick idea of connecting in digital spaces as well. Should I unshare my screen here, Jeffrey?
Yeah, we can go on and do that and jump into the Q&A.
Woo!
So here, and first off, thank you so much for the presentation. That was really good. It's, you know, for everyone here, obviously there's questions and there will forever be questions because it is a lot of information.
Yes.
And you did a great job, and thank you so much. We're going to now move over to the Q&A section of this presentation. We have about more or less 15 minutes left. There is a button for Q&A. So if you have any questions, you click on it, type it, and then we'll try to get to it, as well as I have some here. But during your presentation, I had one question, and I'm not sure if you can answer it because it's a relatively new thing. It's about Instagram. So you were talking about the advertisements and things that are on Instagram, but just recently, Instagram Marketplace has kind of started to blow up because it has its now in-house store. And I know it's been there for a while, but like no one used it. And now it's being used quite often. And I've even seen musicians put shows on it to sell tickets. So I'm curious, do you know anything about that, or would it just be used kind of generally like another online store?
I don't know too much of that yet. Like, I'll totally be transparent with that. I feel especially if you have like a really strong, like, let's say Instagram following, to investing in something like that is, I think, a great idea. People want to buy things quickly and easy, right? And if it's something already connected into their Instagram, and people can do it right then and there, they don't have to go to another site or things like that, because people don't like clicking on multiple things to get to different other pages and stuff like that. So maybe it, provides more accessibility to your consumer, especially if it's like kind of gaining this momentum as well, to utilizing it. I feel if you have that strong following on Instagram.
Great. Here is a question that was submitted in advance. So, how can music creators tailor their online content to resonate with the unique interest and taste of their local music scene?
Whoa. Okay, so the question is how can they connect with their or curate their content?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's like that's, as artists, we're creative beings, right? And so this is to me that kind of marketing is the most fun. So it's thinking about um obviously like connecting socially on digitally, like who again is in your peer group, who are the other musicians, right? Thinking about collaborations, and thinking about how you could take your music into actual physical spaces, right? Like doing a campaign where it's like you're playing a song over here in this area, you're playing a song over here in this area, you put that online, you tag them. Maybe you work with like a local business to do a show. It's like you have to kind of do that reaching out too, and kind of getting getting yourself in almost those like physical spaces, so then things can be shared digitally as well. And if that's something to where you're not familiar with where that's happening, it's communicating with someone who does. Right. I always say never be afraid to reach out to people in your peer group, even though they're kind of your competition. Right. And really see what's working for them. And again, who do you need to get your stuff in front of as well? And that's usually not your peers. Those are people maybe who like own establishments, people who are going to buy your tickets or pay for your experiences, and thinking about where are those groups as well. But that's,
Right.
that's a hard question because it's kind of subjective for each artist and your community too.
Yeah, I mean, if you lived in, Chicago and you're still doing your local community, could very well just be a couple blocks. That's going to be wildly different than like a small town, a rural town where that's it could be the whole town and that would be less people than the couple blocks of the other artists. So, uh,
Yeah, 100%. And I feel too, it's like if you depending on obviously like where you're located too, if you're in smaller rural spaces, or let's just say you're more like introverted too, it's like if you're not out in physical spaces as much, you need to really make sure you're investing in your digital connection. It has, it's got to somewhat balance. And so if you're a little bit more quiet in person, which again, we're musicians, but doesn't necessarily mean we're socially out there, is taking the time to invest digitally. So there's that emotional connection.
so we have a great question here from Tyler, who's here now, and I'm going to add on to the end of it because there's one that is very similar. But the question is, with the uncertainty of TikTok's ban in the news lately, is it still a worthwhile platform to invest in? And then the add-on after this one is, it's also very similar to the, depending on, how you feel, the the aura around X and if you should stay and leave, right? Those to me are very, very similar situations.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's something that I've been talking with a lot of creatives about basically the not the issues, but the topic of TikTok and everything like that. Do I feel like it's something that you should be investing in if that's something that you want to go to? I would say yes as well. Again, what that investment is, obviously I'm unaware of, but even with everything going on, I do feel like it's something to where if you're able to invest in it, that I think you should, yes. And then with X, I don't know.
Yeah, it's more complicated. I mean, especially if your product is video based, you do a lot of videos. I mean, TikTok's where you got to be.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like with TikTok too, that's hard too, because dependent again on your audience and the flood of information that's on TikTok, it's hard to sometimes really target a specific group of people, versus, more on like Instagram and Facebook, it might be a little bit easier.
Mhm. Um, yeah, as somebody who also works in this area, you had mentioned previously, and I want to kind of circle back to that a lot of things work on SEO, a lot of things work on search, but TikTok works on trends, and it's a very different platform in how it gives information to people. Because if you're not trending, then you're not being seen, essentially.
Yeah, and that's why myself personally, I don't utilize TikTok because of that reason. It doesn't really fit with my brand and my brain, to be honest. But yeah, and it's something to with the idea of trends. Trends are shifting constantly and like so fast. It's crazy. Like so if it's again, if you have that time investment to literally follow the trend, I know what that is. You know, some people have a lot of great success for it, but again, if it's like if life is happening, that's not always the case. And again, especially with something like TikTok, where there is that bigger investment with video creation, to where that time investment it isn't worth, to me at least, the effort versus the outcome.
Mhm. Awesome.
And again,
And
depending on what you're selling.
oh yeah, of course. We have a another question here. So you may have already answered this, but I do want to just ask it again. Are there specific content formats that are particularly effective for building a local online scene as opposed to like a larger national?
Yeah. Okay. Content formats.
Yeah, I think from the question, there's examples like a live stream or a tutorial or a Q&A or just a video or like a
Mhm.
podcast. Like I think the word they were looking for is mediums, different content mediums.
Yeah, I think you know, like on Instagram, you know, they have Instagram Live. I know a lot of people, especially musicians, utilize that. And I think that's a great way, again, to that humanizing you as well. I think it's great if it's like with connecting to your local, like again, like collaborating with another artist, right? Like it doesn't even have to be a musician. It could be a visual artist. It could be a writer too. And it's like you get on Instagram Live together and you're making and creating in the same space. But yeah, I think like Instagram Live and things like that. Podcast I feel is tricky because again, it's the world of it is so big, even if it is localized as well. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's like for me, it's I want people around me to know the things that I'm doing. So I'm very mindful of, again, it's just like constant communication of like that social capital. So where again, people are kind of watching for you as well. But I say if you can collaborate and communicate with those peers of yours for growing that scene, because if it's like, you know, people see you interacting with other musicians or artists or business owners or whatever, they're gonna find that appealing, right? Like, oh, he's with this person, you know, there's credibility there to
Absolutely.
you as well when it comes to your local community. And again, tell people what you want them to do. If you want people to show up at your shows, if you want them to buy tickets, tell them to do that online, you know? Because it's like you want them to basically, it's like, okay, this is the cool guy over here, this is the talent, you know, this is the star. And it's really about how you curate yourself online, but to also as the human, so people will make that investment and again
Yeah,
collaborate.
that's great. Thank you. And you mentioned it earlier. I think what's the old term for it? Every post should have a call to action, like buy my
Yeah.
ticket, go to my show. And don't maybe not word it that bleakly, but a call to action with every post to do something.
Yep, and it's that urgency as well. You know, I have a lot of musician friends, they go on their Instagram or what usually Instagram, and they're like, we only have 10 tickets left. You know, they got more than 10 tickets left, but they're just saying that because they want you to hop on there right away. And again, making sure whatever site you're having tickets on is accessible to the phone, because that's how a lot of people are doing that really fast as well. So just thinking about that, those keywords to get people to do things ASAP and not wait a day later and they never do it.
Absolutely. Well, I think that brings us kind of to time. There's all the questions that we had pre submitted. Um, Again, I want to thank you so much, Dana, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the webinar. Again, if you want to revisit it, or if you know people that couldn't make it, it will be posted online in a few days, as well as you can always reach out to me at composer.forum, and we'll be able to answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, and Springboard also has our artist career consultants, people working in every field imaginable in the creative field. So if you need direct support with something in a deeper level than an hour here this afternoon, always reach out to Springboard. They connect you with someone that can help you out.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.